As I said before, I'll say it again. When you recognise and respect us and say that we accept you as our equals in this nation, that we are all Australians together, I never hear it. And where is the protest that I hear of when the Aboriginal flag, not the Aboriginal flag, when the Australian flag is burnt in protest? Why should that be allowed? Superior to another. I have never, ever indicated that at all. I question, and all I have ever questioned is equality for all Australians. Yeah. And I will stand by that. And the corruption that's going on in these communities, land councils, everything like that. I've advocated for these people. A lot of Aboriginals come to me.
Senator Hanson.
The moment the camera flickers on, the first thing you hear is the sound of a kettle boiling, because nothing dramatic ever started in Australia without someone making a cuppa. And right as the steam whistles, the voice comes in with the most exaggerated Aussie twang you've ever heard, like someone crossed a kangaroo with a talkback radio host. Real quick before we roll the footage. If you're enjoying this content, do me a huge favour, hit that like button and smash subscribe. Over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. Don't be one of them. It's free for you and it helps us out more than you know. Already clicked? You're awesome. Let's get into the video.
To get a welcome to country, people don't want that. They don't want this division. We have seen land handed back, and we've seen Australians stopped from going to certain places in this country because they're not welcomed there. This is their land. They can't go to Mount Warning, the Grampian Mountains. They can't go to certain parts. They can't do the things that every Australian should be entitled to. We are treated totally different in many areas. I understand the demise of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I've visited their communities. I've spoken to them. You haven't got the support of welcome to country from every Aboriginal. A lot of them out there have contacted me and said, we are over it as well. We don't want this division in our nation. So it's a stance that I've taken to speak up on behalf of those Australian people that don't want this division. I don't want to have to do this. But the whole fact is that I am actually speaking up on behalf because people don't know how else to protest over this. It's dividing us as a nation, as a people. Everything that I've said right from the very beginning I ever came into Parliament in 1996, my first statement was equality for all Australians. Yeah. But we're being treated totally different. It doesn't matter whether it's education, whether it's jobs, whether it's welfare, whether it's whatever it is. There is no definition to Aboriginality. And a lot of people claiming to be Aboriginal of this nation, they're not, because they can say it. That needs to change. As I said before, I'll say it again. When you recognise and respect us and say that we accept you as our equals in this nation, that we are all Australians together, I never hear it. And where is the protest that I hear of when the Aboriginal flag, not the Aboriginal flag, when the Australian flag is burnt in protest? Why should that be allowed?
Order.
That is not right. I've seen protests from Aboriginal people. I've seen the racism that's been thrown at me because I dare raise issues and I call for equality, so I'm supposed to be the racist of in this nation because I question things. That's not racism. Racism means that you believe your race to be superior to another. I have never, ever indicated that at all. I question, and all I have ever questioned is equality for all Australians. Yeah. And I will stand by that. And I've been the one who's actually gone up to these communities, come back to see the Minister for the Aboriginal Affairs, and I've advocated for jobs at Uluru, Ayers Rock, for those people there. I've advocated for housing up at North Queensland, Bamaka. I've advocated for a lot of issues to do with Aboriginal people. And the corruption that's going on in these communities, land councils, everything like that. I've advocated for these people. A lot of Aboriginals come to me.
Senator Hanson, the time for your contribution has expired.
Righto, strap yourselves in, folks, because today the Senate's turned into a full-blown barbecue argument and the tongs are flying everywhere. Then comes that dramatic pause as if the camera operator has suddenly remembered to breathe. And the voice continues, "We've got Senator Pauline Hanson stepping up like she's walked onto the footy field, ready to question every bit of political theatre happening in Canberra. And honestly, it's wilder than Boxing Day at Bunnings." The energy ramps up as the storyteller leans in, dropping their voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Now look, Penny Wong sitting there doing that calm as a cucumber face, the same expression every Aussie mum uses when she's pretending she's not annoyed the kids left Milo all over the kitchen bench again. And meanwhile, Pauline storms in like she's on a personal quest to ensure the microphones earn their salaries today." The comedic exaggeration continues with the narrator insisting, and Anthony Albanese, well, he's not even in the building because this is the Senate, of course. But don't worry, his name still gets dragged into the conversation like your cousin who never shows up to work but somehow ends up in every family argument. Then the script launches into the heart of Pauline's speech, retold with playful exaggeration. So Pauline stands up, straightens her papers like she's about to give a TED talk at the local pub and looks the First Nations caucus dead in the eye, or at least in the general direction, because the chamber echoes like a tin shed and says, "Listen here, I respect you. I get where you're coming from, but crikey, I'd like a bit of respect back." And the way she says it, you'd think she was asking someone to stop pinching her parking spot at Woolies every Saturday morning. The narrator keeps the playful tone going. She's waving her hands, talking about how Australians from all walks of life, the ones born here, the ones who migrated here, the ones who just came for a holiday and loved it so much they never left, all of them just want to feel like they're welcome too. But then she throws in the part about people saying always was, always will be, and she squints like someone trying to read the fine print on a dodgy phone contract, saying that hearing that phrase over and over makes others feel pushed aside. In the parody style, every moment is given a comedic tilt. Then she launches into the history lesson. And by history lesson, I mean the kind of thing your uncle brings up at Christmas lunch when he's had one too many mid-strength beers, about welcome to country not being some ancient mystical ceremony from 40,000 years ago, but something introduced in the 1970s by Ernie Dingo, apparently because New Zealand had the haka. And you can practically see Penny Wong blinking slowly like she's playing internal bingo titled Unexpected Canberra Statements. The narrator chuckles, continuing. Pauline says she's been turning her back on the welcome to country for 3 years. 3! That's commitment. Most Australians can't even commit to a gym membership for 3 weeks. But she insists she's doing it because people out there, real Aussies, the ones who leave their thongs at the beach and complain about mozzies, told her they're sick of division. They don't want a welcome to country on every plane, every event, every time they buy a sausage roll. They just want unity, simplicity, and probably fewer announcements in general. She points out people being restricted from certain mountains and regions, the narrator explains, exaggerating it all with mock outrage. Pauline throws her arms around like she's swatting away invisible flies, talking about Mount Warning, the Grampians, all these glorious Aussie spots where some folks say others can't go, and she paints it like tourists are standing there with backpacks and sunscreen, staring at a do not enter sign, feeling like contestants eliminated from a reality show. Then, in peak parody mode, the narrator adds, she insists she's spoken to heaps of Aboriginal people and apparently a good few of them are over welcome to country too. She says they've contacted her personally, and which in politics always sounds like someone's cousin's neighbour had a chat with a bloke at the servo who knew a fella who once met someone important. She continues her speech about division and equality, and the parody makes it sound like the chamber has turned into a philosophical cafe at closing time. Pauline says she's been preaching equality since 1996, and honestly, at this point, the narrator suggests she deserves a loyalty card for how often she brings it up. She talks about education, jobs, welfare, and throws in the mystery of how to define Aboriginality, presenting it like a puzzle the government hasn't solved because they lost the instruction manual. The narrator hypes it up further. She's stern, determined, dramatic, like a teacher telling the class they're not leaving until everyone understands long division. She points out she's been called racist, but insists she's only ever chased equality. And she defines racism like she's reading straight from a dictionary she keeps in her handbag for emergencies. As she wraps up her point, the narrator adds playful imagery. Pauline starts listing all the times she's visited communities advocating for jobs and housing. You can imagine her walking into communities with a clipboard and a laser pointer like she's auditing a bakery. And she finishes with strong conviction, the kind that makes half the chamber uncomfortable and the other half start polishing their glasses for no reason. Finally, the narrator closes with the comedic exhale of someone who's just watched a season finale. And that, folks, was the Senate showdown. No chairs thrown, no boomerangs flying, but plenty of fiery words and enough passion to power a small town. Penny Wong stayed calm, Albanese stayed in the lower house minding his own business, and Pauline delivered a speech hotter than the asphalt in January.